legal case against Bush that could result in his being prosecuted for first-degree murder in an American courtroom. I set forth the legal architecture against Bush, the evidence of his guilt, which I'll be getting into in a little while, and the jurisdiction to prosecute him. For several years now, one revelation after another has come out, often accompanied by a book, about the Bush administration's lies and deceptions in taking this nation to war in Iraq, from Curveball and the Niger incident, and there's a recent revelation in the current book about the White House supposedly ordering the CIA to forge a document connecting Hussein with Al-Qaeda. Now, while all of these revelations are very good, I'm the first one to tell you I'm very happy about it. Great. These revelations are great. But you have to know that they don't mean anything at all. Do you understand what I'm saying? They mean nothing at all unless someone does something about it. The revelations by themselves don't go anywhere. They're just revelations unless someone does something about it. And that's why when people hear these revelations, they are prompted to ask, what now? Where do we go from here? This book here is the What Now, Where Do We Go From Here book. The only book written so far, I'm not bragging, I'm just telling you a fact, the only book written about so far providing a legal blueprint for bringing George Bush to justice for the murders of over 4,000 American soldiers in Iraq by prosecuting him for these murders in an American courtroom. By the way, I was telling you about the over 100,000 innocent Iraqi men, women, and children. I was unable in my research, and I did a lot of research, unable to establish jurisdiction in an American courtroom to prosecute Bush for the deaths of all these Iraqis. But I was able to establish jurisdiction to prosecute him for the American soldiers who died over there. In any event, revelations come and go, and people forget about them because there's no payoff. And Bush, as with words critical of him, couldn't care less about these revelations because he's not suffering any harm whatsoever. But I wonder if George Bush will still have that smirk on his face if and when he learns that he could face the death penalty for his monumental crime. Impeachment, if successful, by way of a conviction in the Senate, can only result in removal from office, not criminal punishment, which is what justice is all about. With respect to this movement, I mentioned I launched, I didn't bring the photo with me. I guess I do have it here. I'm glad I did bring it. Whenever there used to be banners or photos about Bush, they were for impeachment. And these impeachment photo or banners and signs are still out there, and that's great. But now for the first time, because of this book, you see signs like this: prosecute Bush for murder. And during the Q&A, by the way, I'll tell you why, even though I'm very much in favor of impeachment, of course he should be impeached, why I'm not satisfied with impeachment alone at all. If you want to know why, you can ask me. There are several legal complexities in this case, some rather arcane, and I discuss all of them in depth in the book, but today I'm only going to discuss one of them. People are asking me all the time, how could George Bush be prosecuted for murder when he never personally killed anyone? The reason is that it is not necessary for a criminal defendant to personally kill someone to be guilty of murder. You know about the Charles Manson case, of course. I convicted Manson of the 7 Tate LaBianca murders, even though he himself did not participate in any of the murders. He wasn't physically present at all. Not like O.J. Simpson's. Not only was Simpson's blood, his fresh blood, found at the murder scene, but the victim's blood was found inside his car and home. But I was able to convict Manson of the 7 murders because of what they call the vicarious liability rule of conspiracy, which provides that each member of the conspiracy is criminally responsible for all crimes committed by his co-conspirators or innocent agents of the conspirators to further the object of the conspiracy. E.g., A and B conspire to rob a bank, A's the driver of the getaway car, B's the stick-up man, B goes in, the teller resists, B kills the teller. A out in his car is guilty of that murder, even though he only conspired to commit robbery. Why? Well, because B committed the murder of the teller to further the object of the conspiracy, which was robbery. But, one might say, since even Bush's co-conspirators, like Cheney and Rice, did not kill the victims who would be named in the criminal indictment in this case, the 4,000 American soldiers who were killed in Iraq, Iraqi soldiers and civilian insurgents did, how could Bush be guilty of murder? The reason is that if a conspirator, or anyone for that matter, deliberately sets in motion a chain of events which he knows will cause, that's the key word, will cause a third-party innocent agent to commit an act, here the killing of American soldiers by Iraqis, the conspirator is criminally responsible for that act. Here we all know that the object of Bush, Cheney, and Rice was to go to war in Iraq, which they knew, not think or believe, which they knew would inevitably result in the deaths of American soldiers, unless Bush wanted to make the argument, which people would laugh at, they'd reject out of hand, that he was contemplating a war without casualties. Silly on his face. And as the courts have said, this is kind of a sophisticated point, that's why I'm dealing with it. There's many others in the book, but this is a key point. The courts have said, the doctrine of innocent agent allows a defendant not present at the commission of a crime, here the killings in Iraq, to be convicted as a principal in the first degree if the defendant engaged in actions which caused the actual perpetrator to do the act as an innocent agent of the defendant. Note that it does not have to be shown that the principal wanted the innocent agent to commit the act, only that he caused him to. And certainly, in invading Iraq, Bush caused Iraqis, either in self-defense or to repel an invader, to fight back. The anti-war activist Cindy Sheehan called me in June, one Sunday afternoon in June, and at one point in our conversation, this is what she said to me. She didn't get these words from law school. She didn't go to law school. And although she was reading my book, she hadn't come to the innocent agent doctrine yet in the book. And these are the words she used. They just come from common sense. And I'll quote you her words exactly. This is Cindy Sheehan. The Iraqi insurgents did not kill my son. George Bush did. They were just repelling an invader, which they had every right to do. Under federal law, the innocent agent doctrine is codified under Title 18 of the United States Code, Section 2, Subdivision B, which provides, quote, whoever willfully causes, there's that word cause again, causes an act to be done which, if directly performed by him, would be a crime, is punishable as a principle. The courts have held that the defendant is as guilty as if he had committed the crime himself.